I know I said I wasn't gonna make a video on any Marvel property unless I really want to. Dude, I didn't even want to watch this movie in theaters, and I was content to wait for it on Disney+. But I was in Indonesia last week for a concert, and it was either this or a list of 4 Indonesian movies without subtitles, so I didn't have much of an option. Did I like the Captain America movies? Yeah. They were good, grounded action movies that were nice tonal palette cleansers in between the more high-flying action and space-centric MCU entries. And did I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Also, yes. Despite some pacing issues, it had a good real-world setting, decent themes, a good setup for the new Captain America, and where his story was headed. Am I surprised that none of what made that show interesting was used for this movie? The answer will shock you. I wasn't. Brave New World met my low expectations by being a movie. It wasn't a good movie, mind you, but it's also not as bad as people are saying it is. I was mildly entertained. It mostly kept my attention. I was moderately invested. Before I get into what I dislike about the movie, let's go through some good stuff. I think the action set pieces were well done. They utilized Sam's more versatile and dynamic moveset to create some neat tricks like bouncing the shield off missiles or slicing a car with his wings. I like how they reused that element of the Black Panther suit where impact is converted into a counterblast. I find the element of Falcon still needing to prove himself kinda interesting. It's clear that they tried to give him a character arc as he grapples with what kind of hero he wants to be. He's not roided out, so does he stand a chance against much stronger foes? He was fine in Falcon and the Winter Soldier because the threats were more grounded, but he's fighting missiles and a huge shifted Hulk that we'll get to. So is he out of his depth? There's an attempt to explore that here, and him being a mentor to Joaquin as he's also trying to learn how to be a better Falcon. Solid stuff here. I find the antagonist also quite interesting. He's not in the trailers, but he plays a nice part in the overall theme of the movie, and I like how he's created by the hubris of the very people whom Cap is trying to protect. He's not perfect or even good, but he does add a nice layer to the style the movie is going for. I like how they're finally using the giant Celestial, the only canon thing from Eternals. They're just using it as a resource to do political drama on, but hey, at least it's something. Adamantium is now canon in the MCU. That's cool. You think we'll get the X-Men in the MCU? We might, right? With the Fantastic Four movie. I liked Isaiah, not because he did anything interesting in this movie, I just liked his character from Falcon. I also like Giancarlo, not because of his character or anything, I just like seeing him. I like when Harrison Ford did the, Okay, I think I ran out of praise for this movie. Can we discuss the problems? Because I have never seen a movie that made it this obvious that there were story troubles. Oh yeah, that's your spoiler warning, I guess. Falcon had a damn good story to continue with Cap learning how to deal with bigger threats, and the presence of government conspiracies. This movie still does sorta have that, but it's not very interesting. It's about Ross not wanting to die, so he bargains with a victim of gamma exposure to make him medication that's extending his life, but at the cost of unknowingly ingesting massive amounts of gamma radiation in himself. This goes nowhere and it doesn't really have any real impact, and it just feels like a justification to get us to Red Hulk. Speaking of Red Hulk, he is so boring. For someone who was teased all through the marketing and is a big part of the main promotional material, you only see him from a 10-minute climactic showdown, where he's clearly more overpowered than Sam. Remember, Sam is just a man with some fancy gear, and Red Hulk is a motherfucking Hulk. I didn't feel anything when he just kept bodying Sam. Because duh, and I think the writers knew that, because Sam doesn't defeat him with action, but by talking to him. And for those of you who say that's just similar to how Natasha calmed Banner down, it didn't always work first try, remember? That's how you got the Hulkbuster fight. But this worked just like that in one attempt? The big bad in the movie was just stopped by a Dora Explorer swiper no swiping? That's not boring at all. But what if I told you that's not the only boring action set piece of the movie? Because every goddamn action set piece is so nothing. I'm not asking for much. I like the freeway fight in Civil War. I like the ending fight in No Way Home. But if your fight scenes are starting to look like the third act of the Flash movie, we have a problem. The settings are so bland and boring, and the editing is somehow worse than the usual choppy Marvel editing. It relies a lot on Zack Snyder's slow-mo, and I can tell it's the filmmakers wanting you to cheer the cool moves. Too bad my theater was quiet as shit because half of it was empty. but nowhere near as empty as the supporting characters. Aside from Sam and Ross, nobody has anything substantial to do in this movie. Joaquin is just the sidekick, and he gets booted around the third act. The villain is such a non-issue and so unthreatening that he's a joke. Isaiah was relegated to a damsel in distress with nothing to do. It feels like these characters had something more to do, but the rewrites and reshoots completely stripped away anything interesting about them. And nowhere is it worse than with Giancarlo's character, and with the most divisive character, Ruth Bath Saraf. I'm not calling her Sabra because she only shares the name and nationality. Giancarlo is such a good actor, but similar to Bale in Love and Thunder, he's so nothing in this movie. You would think he's gonna be this master marksman or deadly assassin, but no. There's an article where Giancarlo mentions he's super intelligent and it really pushed his acting range. Where? In the cut that made it to theaters, he's just there in 3 scenes, exposited some info, and fucks off in 40 minutes. He is useless. I honestly thought he was gonna be the main villain, but no. He's just a side quest. What was his point? I barely remember anything about him or his stupid gang that was only important in the first 15 minutes of the movie. And as for you, what was your point in this movie? Her face was on the poster and Marvel clearly wanted to distance themselves from her, let's just say, problematic comic book origins. But what's the point if you do nothing with this new character? You change her from a representation of the worst parts of Israel to a Black Widow. Fine. But you do nothing with her. She's just standing beside Harrison Ford like a secretary. She could have had an action sequence of her own. You know, cause she's a Black Widow? But nothing? Why even bother with her then? Why bother with this character at all if, even despite the origin changes, she does nothing to override what people know about her? Did you want the controversy points as free marketing, Marvel? Did you not believe in your film to be successful with a shitty script, weak direction, boring characters, non-existent political commentary, and bland action? Because it shows! Captain America Brave New World is the newest example of a film being ruined by its lack of clarity with anything, and not having a clear vision with its 5 writers and months of reshoots. 5 out of 10. And I'm being very generous here. I just needed a change of pace from writing some bigger scale videos in the background. Much like this movie, I don't care. See you when I'm talking about things I'm actually passionate to discuss. Bye.